Xmas, X. And not only that, but people mispronounce the letter X way more than you might think. So right now, let's talk about all the different ways that you could be getting it wrong and how to fix them and recognize it. Because just the other day, I was listening to somebody, it's around Christmas time right now, and they said, oh, saying Xmas takes the Christ out of Christmas. But I was like, not really, because actually, way back in like the 4th century, Christians were already using an X, because it actually came from Greek, from the letter Kri, right, for Christos. So what people might know, because these days when we see an X in a Greek-rooted word, that we actually say the Z sound, like in xylophone or xenophobia. So why is that the case then? Why is it when we see an X at the beginning of a word and we suspect that it's got a Greek root, why do we say it's a Z sound? If you think about it, your mouth kind of has a hard time with certain combinations of consonants. We call those clusters. So really, most of the time you have a K and an S in there, right? So we've got k, s, k, s. Most of the time when we see an X, box, 6. But try doing that at the beginning of the word, and it's a little bit more difficult. Let's see, for example, if I said xylophone, or xenophobia, or xerox, or xylitol. Doesn't quite feel right, doesn't quite sound right. So whenever it's at the beginning, then I think over time it just kind of morphed into some Z sound because it was a lot easier. So you can see why, maybe how those two are related a little bit. So if we keep looking, we've got tax, xi. It's not very common in English that we have one letter with two sounds there. It's not very common in English that we have one letter that results in two sounds together. But in this case, whenever you see an X, as long as it's not the beginning and as long as it's not like a Greek word, then you can do some combinations. I'm going to give you 3 options. So number 1, k, k, s. But hold on, because if it's 2 sounds, let's really think about what our tongue is doing. So if you've never seen this before, this is a IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, consonant chart. And I took out all the other sounds in all the other languages, and I'm just leaving the English sounds. So along the top is where you're going to make the sound. Where in your mouth is that sound being created by your tongue and interacting with some other part of your mouth. And then along the side here, the column, that's what I'm doing with the air, right? How I'm forming and shaping the air. And then last but not least, you'll see I've got kind of a bluish color as well. That's when the sound is unvoiced, meaning there's no vibration in your vocal folds. 3 things to think about to make the perfect consonant sound, kind of a roadmap. So we're going to look at a few of them and how we transition between them. So for example, let's start with this S sound, right? Letter S, which if you know, at the end of the word, sometimes it can also be like a Z sound, zzz, unvoiced, s, like a snake, or silence, right? Voiced, zzz, like buzz, like a mosquito or a bee, right? We're creating friction. And where are we creating friction? This is called the alveolar ridge, right behind your teeth. You've got like a bump there, that ridge, that bump. We call that the alveolar ridge. So I'm creating friction on the bump with the tip of my tongue. Now, a lot of languages have an S in them. Your tongue might be more forward or more back than mine, right? Mine is right on the bump. So for a good American S sound, S sound. And then if you activate your vocal folds, then you've got a Z. Zzz. These are some of the top common sounds, so it's really good to like nail these, right? And understand like, how am I creating this sound, even if it's in your own language. So we've got S's and Z's, and then we've got K's and G's. Now, if I go back, you notice I cut up the chart because I'm zooming in, so it's a little bit far away. Here, all the way in the back, we've got the velum. If I take that bump and I follow it back, I've got a hard palate and then a soft palate. The soft palate is called the velum. So it's way far away on the chart, so I just cut it up and put it together. But it's not a friction sound, it's a stop sound. So you have to stop the air where? In the soft palate. With what your tongue. Kind of like the back of your tongue is going to lift up there. So you may or may not have a K or a G in your language, but you also might be making it in a different way. So see if you can feel the back of your tongue lifting up and stopping the air k, k, on that soft palate. And then if you add voicing, then you've got g, g, g as you release the air. It's a stop sound like kick or g, 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 give, give, kick. So those are two of our other sounds. If we go back, then we can see ba, k, s, k, s. On the velum, k, k, release the air, move the tongue forward, s, create friction, k, s, k, s, box, 6, taxi, next. So we can see how combining those two really articulately is going to give me a better sound. I'm going to sound more clear. I'm going to feel more confident. I'm going to know exactly what my tongue should be doing. I can repeat that, drill it, and really get some automaticity in there. Now let's go back. And now we can take both of those k sounds together. And then if we voice both of them, then we don't have k, s, we have g, z. But it's exactly the same what my tongue is doing. The only difference is I'm voicing this now, right? So we could have letter X in English, and it could be k, s, or g, z. So like exam, exact, exist, example. But if you didn't know, if you saw that X, you might not know if it's supposed to be voiced or unvoiced, and maybe previously you didn't know exactly where your tongue should be. Here's the other thing, too. It can be pronounced as, let's start with that k in the back, but now we're going to go forward and not k, s, but k. Pretend you're telling someone to be quiet. Shh, k, shh, k, shh. In this case, it's going to sound like anxious, luxury, complexion, or sexual, right? So what really is the difference between that s and sh if we think about the articulation of these things? We had our S and our Z. We said they're friction, and they're on the bump. They're on the ridge. We said the and g, they're in the back. We stop them, but now we've got something in the middle. It is causing friction, sh, but it's right between the ridge and the palate, the hard palate. So right on the back of the bump, sorry, right there where it's changing, right? That's called alveopalatal. So think about s, and then move it back a little. Sh, s, sh, s, sh, as in shoe. Where's my shoe? And then if I take that and I add the voicing, sh, zzz, zzz, I should feel vibration here. Zzz, sh, zzz, like television, right? I'm going to have sh and zzz made in the same place, in the same way, right? Friction right behind the bump, and then this way I can change them and have two. But there are some variations that maybe you can listen for. For example, if you don't know, Stephen Fry or Hugh Laurie, they were a fantastic comedic duo back in the day. And Stephen Fry used to say sex, not sh, sex. And then he would drop his tongue down for sexual. He was known to be a prominent gay man at the time, and he would say sexual in this way. Homosexual, he used to say. Another variation that you might hear is, let's take luxury, sh, and let's voice it. Then I'm going to have g and zh, like television, luxury, right? You hear that. You hear luxury and luxury, which is funny because we don't take any of those other ksh words. We don't voice those. We don't say anxious. We don't say complexion or sexual. We don't say those things. So it's funny how we're doing one and it's totally fine, totally normal, but the other one's not so much. But see if you can hear it. See if you can hear those variations in some of these. So here's a couple of other things that now that you know how to articulate it really, really well, you can also apply that and kind of add it to some rules so that you stop thinking about it maybe so much, right? So for example, Let's take a adjective with an ed ending, or a verb, a regular verb that's in the past tense, right? And then we end it with x, and then we add ed on the end. Okay, so I've got my k, s. Every time that ed ending, it's going to be a T sound. That E is going to be silent, and that letter D is going to be unvoiced to a T. So it's going to sound like k, s, t, kst, kst, mixed, relaxed, kst. So if you have a verb or an adjective that ends in X and you add that ed on there, it's always going to be kst, 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 every time. Easy. So what you can do is you can drill that, you can repeat, and then it can be automatic. Another thing you can do, if you have an X and then you have an ES ending, maybe for a plural, for nouns, or some verbs, right, can have the ES ending. We're going to add is to it, like the verb be, is. So why do I have some scissors there? Because it's S-I-Z sound, sizz. Think of sizz and add a K there. Sizz, xizz. Boxes, taxes. Every time, gonna be the same. So here's some rules that we actually follow. Another thing that this can really help you out with, knowing all of this, is so now I can get better at my consonant clusters. What do I mean? 2, maybe 3, maybe more consonants together, my tongue starts freaking out and going like, I gotta move from one place to another, and sometimes I'm stopping it, and sometimes I've got friction in my air, and I'm doing different things with the air. Am I voicing? Am I not? Where's my tongue going, right? Maybe the air's even in my nose for some nasal sounds. Consonants can be tricky. Line them all up together. That can be really difficult on your tongue. So you can get better at consonant clusters. For example, inside the word, you might have multiple consonants that are difficult to pronounce. So look at this. I've got k, s, p, l, k, sp, l. In one word, explain. And so that might be difficult. Well, it makes sense, but let's break it down. I've got my K in the back, k, k, S in the front, s on the ridge, but then my lips are going to come in and swoop in and do the p, 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 ksp, ksp, and then exp, exp, and then my tongue didn't do anything for the P. Now I can just go back on the bump and do a little l, l, ksp, l, explain, explain. You can add them up together and compound these consonants and get much, much better at that. Another one, really difficult one. I've got my KS, k, s, k, s. Then everybody's favorite, the TH sound. So k, s, k, s, k, s. Then I come back in for that S again one more time if it's plural. S, 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 sixths. Not an easy one, but inside the words is one thing because I always see that same word the same way, but what if now I have combinations which results in consonant clusters? For example, the end of one word might have some consonants, and the beginning of the next word might have 1 or 2 consonants. We'll put them together if I want really good connected speech. I want to get better at my clusters. For example, let's take the word next. St. That's already 3. St, st. The word itself is not easy. Next. And then the word spr, spring, spring. 3 and 3, that's 6 consonants. So I've got k, st, sp, spr. So I've got next, spring. 6 consonants in a row, not easy, but you can get better at that, knowing that that X is actually 2 sounds, not just 1. Next one, like we said, with the ED ending, I'm going to have a t, k, st, just like in next. It's going to sound exactly the same. And then I've got s, t, r. Also, all together, that's 6, right? So next, spring, mixed, st, r, st, r. Mixed strengths. Not easy. But what you can do is just keep going. You get repetition, but not absent-mindedly. Attentive. Really pay attention to your repetition, and then the more you do it, the more you're going to have muscle memory, and pretty soon it's going to be automatic. So watch out for these few things, right? Am I making one sound or two? Hey, if my tongue is moving, if my mouth is moving, it's going to be two probably. Number two, what about my airflow, right? Where is the air flowing or how is it flowing? Number three, what's the position of my tongue? What is it touching? What is its shape? And then of course the vocal folds, are they on? Are they voicing or are they off? Are they unvoiced? There's only one or the other. I don't want to see anything in between, not like half voicing. No, either turn it on or turn it off. And why do I say that? For example, somebody once told me that they had their X for breakfast, and I was like, I think actually you probably had eggs, right? Or when people say, oh, Merry Xmas, I'm like, I think that's actually for Easter rather than Christmas. So just keep those things in mind. And if you have any other questions, you can always just ask me in our community, right? You can put a message here, of course, but you can always ask in our community. It's totally free to join my community, and I have 2 free events every month that you can join, and you can post anything anytime. And it's a group of people all over the world, just like you, who are into language and accent and culture and pronunciation as well. So you can post your questions in there and also get an answer. And the most important event is my monthly Accent Masterclass. It's free for anybody. It's on the last Thursday of the month. As long as you're in the community, you're going to get invited. And if you're not in the community yet, then there's a link down below where you can join us right in the description. So hey, why not give it a try? And if it's not for you, no worries at all. So what I'd like to say now is that if this question really helped you out, then the next one I want you to check out is the 8 different ways to pronounce the O-U-G-H spelling. And in the meantime, then we can see each other inside the community.